All right, how do you calculate the cash flow for your business? I'm so glad you're asking this question, and it is such a responsible one to ask as a business owner. I wish more business owners asked it. So let's dive in and figure out exactly how much cash flow your business has so that you can understand your numbers at a much deeper level. So how do I calculate the cash flow for my business? I'm so glad that you're asking this question because it tells me you're focused on things that actually matter in your business, unlike pure revenue numbers that are just vanity. All right, so let's talk cash flow. How do I understand what's really happening and what are the factors that influence it? Let's dive in. Let's talk about why you can't trust your profit and loss statement. When people go to look at it, it's telling them one number, when in reality, it's not showing the whole picture. We're going to tell you why and how to make sure you don't fall into the trap of only believing what it says. Second, we're going to look at the 4 numbers you need to know to calculate what we call true cash flow in your business. And finally, I'm going to show you the 3 different things that you can do with your money once you have true cash flow so that you can make sure it ends up in the places you really care about. So let's talk about this profit and loss statement. I have so many business owners coming to me saying, you know, Alex, I have this P&L here that shows me that I'm profitable, but I don't see any of that money. Where is it? And why don't I have it in my bank account? Well, here's the dirty little secret. Your profit and loss statement lies. Now, it's not lying on purpose, it's not its fault, it's just how bookkeeping was designed back when whoever came up with it decided what a profit and loss statement should look like. I'm not here to blame your bookkeeper, we're not here to throw them under the bus, but we do need to understand that a profit and loss statement does not represent cash flow in your business, especially if you are on accrual basis accounting, which you'd know if you were. It's not going to show what is actually happening with cash in versus cash out of the business. We need to understand what your P&L is then. It is a tax representation of what your money has been doing in the business. So it's to report to the IRS. Is it helpful for us as a business owner? Yes, but net income, that bottom line on your P&L statement, only shows business income and business expenses that are taxable. And so because of that, it's not going to show things like, ooh, you know what, you paid yourself out as an owner. It doesn't show us that. It also doesn't show things like, you paid this much back to a loan this month. It's also not going to show us stuff like, you know, I bought a vehicle for the business and I paid $10,000. It's not going to show you that. And so it fundamentally lies when it comes to cash flow. Instead, there are a few specific numbers we need to look at in addition to the P&L so that you see the complete picture in your business. So there are 4 different places that your cash flow can be leaking out of the business after we see that net income number. So if you're seeing that profit and loss statement and it doesn't match up with what's in your bank account, here's the 4 other places your money might be going. The first one is debt repayments. So if you got a loan of $100,000 into your business, you wouldn't count it as sales. You wouldn't want to because you don't want to pay taxes on that, believe me. But by the same token, we can't count that money as an expense when we pay it back. So loan principal, or the initial amount that we took out as a loan, does not show up as an expense when we pay it out of our business. So because of that, you'll see your profit and loss statement, but then your loan payments come out after that. So that is the very first place that you're probably losing money outside of the business, especially if you have a lot of debt you're paying back. The second place is investments within your business, buying assets. So big things like a computer, a vehicle, a large piece of equipment, maybe even furniture, count as assets in the business, not necessarily as expenses on your P&L. Why is that? Well, the government expects that you have a long lifetime on those assets, and they want you to be able to take one little slice of that expense each year as a tax write-off. That little slice is called depreciation. And so because of that, we often aren't able to take the full expense up front on our P&L. Instead, it shows up on our balance sheet. So let's say you go buy a $10,000 vehicle in May. When you look at May's P&L, you're not going to see a $10,000 expense on there. Even though the money left the business, it doesn't show up on the P&L. Remember I told you that P&L lies? That's one other place. The third place where it's not going to show money leaking out of the business is through income tax payments. So when you make your tax payments as an individual, you might think, well, these are from my business income, so I guess it's a business expense, right? Probably wrong. You should go check out our other videos in our tax series on this channel, which by the way, they're amazing, so you should subscribe to this channel if you want more stuff like this. But you really want to make sure that you understand tax payments are a personal expense, not a business expense, so they likely won't show up on your profit and loss statement. Quick note here, if your personal tax payments are coming out of your business account, and you look at your profit and loss statement and it shows those tax payments as an expense, you might actually want to talk with your bookkeeper about that. They might not know that it's a personal expense. I've had a number of clients that this has happened to. One time we were sitting down looking at someone's P&L and they had $21,000 of tax expense halfway through the year. And I said, that seems like a lot of taxes. That can't be business taxes. And they said, oh no, that's me paying back taxes from last year. Unfortunately, that's a personal expense. And so if the government were to see that, when you go and report at the end of the year and you say, hey government, here's my P&L, right? You give that to your CPA and they're reporting to the government. That could be a yellow flag or even a red flag for the government auditing you. We don't want to trigger IRS audits, and so we want to make sure that we don't have those personal tax payments showing up as an expense on the P&L. But that is the third place that money will often leak out of the business, not showing up on there. All right, so now that we understand those 4 places where money's going, what do we do with the leftovers? The money that's sitting there in the bank account, I have all this extra cash flow. There are 3 things that we should be doing with it. And the first one is saving money for taxes every single month. You should be saving 30% of your profit as a general rule every single month to make sure that you don't get a surprise tax bill. Next, we should make sure that you can pay yourself as an owner. We have videos on this. In fact, we have an entire workshop on this that I will offer you at the end here, but please just make sure that you're paying yourself regularly as a business owner. That's place number 2 where all of that extra cash flow can go. And number 3, we want to be saving for future business growth. Other investments that you have, building up reserves, and making sure that the business has enough money to be able to operate as well. So if we're planning on those 3 places, now the question is, how much do I give to each of those? And I want to give you a free gift. It is an amazing tool and a training that's going to help you figure out where do I send each of those different buckets and how much do I put in them. So if you hit the link below, we have our free paycheck predictor workshop along with an amazing spreadsheet that I've created for you to quickly plug in your numbers and see how much can I afford to pay myself, what do I need to save for taxes, and how much should I save into the business for future growth. Go grab that workshop and checklist. It will be so useful for you. Thanks for watching this video. I'm excited to see you in the next one.